CFA Society Nigeria. Let's talk about money.
We are professionals. We are impact driven. We are CFA Society Nigeria, a member society of the CFA Institute Global Network of Societies. Our mission is to promote the highest standard of practice in the Nigerian financial services industry and provide a vibrant community for our members. The CFA Charter signals the holders' commitment to professional excellence. As thought leaders, we collaborate with stakeholders to ensure adherence to ethical standards, better education for professionals, and to build market integrity. We are the leading voice for advocacy in the finance and investment industry in Nigeria. To partner with us or become our member, visit us at cfasocietyn.org for more details. CFA Society Nigeria, making finance a force for good.
Money Talks.
Money Talks.
Money Talks. Money Talks.
Money Talks with CFA Society Nigeria. Let's talk about money.
Hello everyone and welcome to Money Talks on 92.3 Inspiration FM Smart. Uzechi is my name. You can call me Captain Smart. And this evening, my guest on the show is Omolola Iyinolakan, ACIS rather. She's the president of the Association of Corporate Trustees, a self-regulated organization which serves as the body for corporate trustees in the Nigerian capital market space. She has over 17 years experience which spans across legal practice and banking and non-banking financial services sectors. She began her career in the financial sector in Zenith Bank PLC in 2008 after a short core legal practice. She was thereafter seconded to Zenith Trustees Limited as legal officer, where she rose through the ranks to become the head of corporate trust. She thereafter moved to Coronation Trustees Limited, where she was the managing director until July 2020. She is currently the managing director of Apel Capital and Trust Limited, and she is responsible for setting the strategic direction for the growth of the firm. Omolola holds a Bachelor's of Law degree, LLB Hons, from the Olabisi Onabanjo University, Agoiwoye in Ogun State, and a Master's of Law degree, LLM, from the University of Lagos, Akoka here in Lagos. She's a member of the Nigerian Bar Association and associate member of the Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators, London in the United Kingdom. And today we're going to be discussing trustees and consumer of financial services in Nigeria. That's our subject of discussion today. As we say, welcome to Omolola in the studio.
Thank you very much, Captain Smart.
Good evening to you.
Good evening.
Good to see you. Welcome, barrister. So you're wearing so many caps. Lawyer, banker.
I wouldn't call myself a banker
Anymore.
It's non-banking financial services.
Okay. But you were at the bank at a time.
Yeah. It all started with Zenith Bank. Yes.
And they say once a banker is always a banker.
Depends on how you say it.
You're welcome. Good to see you.
Thank you.
This lets you know that you can join us over the telephone 0700 923 923 923. That's the number to call. 0700 923 923 923. You can also send us a message on WhatsApp 0817-313-6193. That's 0817-313-6193. You can also record a voice note and send it to us right there. And I'm streaming live on Instagram at Captain Smart 007. That's my Instagram handle. You can join us there as well at Captain Smart 007. So let's get quickly to it. We're talking trustees and consumers of financial services in Nigeria. I mean, people are already calling us. I'm trying to set the tone here. So let's see who we may have. Hello, good evening. Okay, you have to wait for us to get the show started first. very quickly, just to let you know, the phone lines will open in just a moment, so just hold on for us. So, Omolola, this is a very technical and professional topic that needs someone like you to break down. So, trustees and consumers of financial services in Nigeria. So, let's begin to break the words down. Is a 2-in-1 question I'm going to ask you now. First, what is trust, and who is a trustee?
Okay. So, thank you, Captain Smart. Let me say that it's quite technical. I recall while in uni, law of trusts was quite abstract. Like, we really could not relate. So a lot of us had to cram, just to get by.
Yeah.
Yes. So I'll define trust first with my textbook definition. It had to stick, so it's still in my head. Yeah, so it's described as a tripartite legal arrangement where you have a person called a settlor who owns a property, an asset, transferred to another person called a trustee who is to hold for the benefit of a third party, that's the beneficiary. So technically it's one person, Captain Smart, owns an asset as a settlor. Captain Smart transfers the ownership of the asset to Omolola. Let me correct my surname, it's Iyinolakan.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
Captain Smart transfers the asset to Omolola to hold as trustee for the benefit of, say, Captain Smart's children. So the components there are: one, there is the settlor, the original owner of the asset. Two, there is the trustee.
Yeah.
That's the middle party. Three, there is the beneficiary, a named beneficiary. And very importantly, there is the asset, something tangible. A trust asset could be anything that can be owned and that can be transferred. So basically, that's what the concept of trusteeship is about. It's quite foreign in our own clime. It has its roots, I believe, in ancient Roman world, and I won't go into that, but it became more popular in, I think, the 12th century in the UK during the Crusades War. So some people were going for, some soldiers were going to fight, and of course in a wartime you're not sure if you're going to survive the battle or not. So they had properties, real estate now, they had to transfer to some people to hold for named beneficiaries. In that situation, it was for themselves. So we're not sure if they were going to come back, right? So they went, and then some of them came back. But by the time they returned, because the idea of trusteeship is to transfer ownership, legal ownership has to move. By the time they came back, they went to the trustees. The people at the time, the concept of trust wasn't particularly popular. So they went back to the trustees to take back their assets. But because the common law, that's the English law, recognized ownership strictly, it became a bit difficult. And then equity was introduced. Equity simply means fairness. So they had to look into what the real contemplation was. What was the contemplation? Was it for the asset to be transferred to you for your own benefit or for some other reason? So that's the whole idea of trusteeship. And the trustee is that middle party that holds assets in trust. In Nigeria, we have the corporate trustees. They are regulated by the Securities and Exchange Commission to act as one.
All right. So let's go to the different kind of trusts that we have, particularly in Nigeria, and why people actually need those kind of trusts.
If you say in Nigeria, I would say we have none. But I should say that there are a lot of there are different types. I would also say the market is evolving, the world is evolving. So you can literally create a trust for any reason. But very popularly, we have revocable trust. Revocable, just as it sounds, it means you can set up the trust and revoke at some point. You have the irrevocable trust. It means once you set up, like a charitable trust, I'll go into that. So once you set up, you cannot cancel it. There's the charitable trust for philanthropy causes. There is blind trust. So blind trust is usually used by public office holders to create a clear separation so that there is no conflict of interest. There is the living trust. Living trust is like the most popular one used for estate planning. Yeah.
So when we talk about trusts, then we have trustees. right? So
Yeah.
I was going to ask you to tell us, or to tell the public, how trustees fit into the financial system. And this word, or these words, trust, trustees, they sound like big words for big men and women, for the low kind of people. The other question is to ask you how ordinary people, ordinary individuals who need the services of these trustees.
Okay, so fitting into the financial services sector, let me put it this way. What the financial market is about is financial intermediation, bridging the funding gap, taken from the haves, even the have-nots. So we have corporates. I'm going to use that as an example just to break it down. So you have corporates who go into business and believe that for their business to grow, they need additional funding from, say, banks. The financial intermediation could come by direct lending. It could be leveraging the capital markets, right? So we have different investors. So if we're doing direct lending, for example, and a corporate is taking funds from multiple lenders, for example, best practice is for one individual, a neutral party, to hold the collateral. There has to be a collateral for the lending. So one neutral party to hold the collateral on behalf of the lenders, and that's the security trustee. So rather than lender A, B, C chasing after the borrower, the trustee represents, right? And then the advantage also for the borrower is, rather than pledging different assets to each lender, the trustee can hold the assets collectively for the benefit of the lenders. And then looking at the capital market space, I mean, we have different investors. A company issues a bond, for example, and you have different categories of investors. You have HNIs, you have retail investors, you have even investors from abroad, right? Investing in local instruments. One party has to be able to hold the issuer, that's the company taking the funds, to ensure that the company complies with, a company has promised that, don't worry, I'll give you 15% or 20% on your investment, I'll do this, I'll ensure my assets are safe and all of that. There has to be that one party that would ensure that all the covenants are kept, and that's the trustee.
In case you're joining us now, you're listening to Money Talks. Money Talks is a financial literacy program and is brought to you by CFA Society here in Nigeria. You can join us via the telephone lines 0700 923 923 923 in case you have questions to ask Omolola here in the studio, or you can send us messages on WhatsApp 0817 313 6193. That's 0817 313 6193. You can consult Omolola for free while she's in the studio here this evening. So you can call on the telephone 0700 923 923 923. The phone lines are officially open right now. I'll ask you this next question, because this question has caused a lot of controversy around the country. People are confused about the terms, and that's is everywhere on social media. There's one particular post making the rounds. The story has refused to go away about people filling out forms in the bank, and you have next of kin. People are confused about who is actually a next of kin. Some people confuse next of kin, to mean beneficiary, vice versa. So, as a professional here, who is actually a next of kin? And want you to give us your professional advice as to how you can advise people on how to properly transfer their assets, because so many people think that when I'm filling a form, once I write next of kin, if the person dies, that's who takes, and some people say, I cannot use my wife for next of kin, I have to use my son, I have to use my brother. So clarify this for us, please.
All right. A next of kin is the closest blood relation.
It has to be a blood relation.
It doesn't have to be.
Okay.
Really.
Okay.
Let me put it this way. In case of emergency, so who do we reach? It has nothing at all to do with transfer of assets. I do not know that a bank is able to transfer assets to a person, a deceased family member, for example, by reason of their being named as next of kin, without still going through the process laid down in applicable transfer of assets like estate laws. So next of kin is one thing. transferring assets is another thing. It is not impossible that you have a next of kin who is also a beneficiary, maybe a named beneficiary in a will or something, but they are two different things. They're completely different.
Wow. So what's your advice on how people can properly transfer their assets to their loved ones in case of sudden demise?
That sudden demise is something we don't like talking about, right?
Everybody, and that's why people don't want to talk about will, because they say if you're talking about will, it's like I want to die.
True. So we're Africans, and
we don't want to die.
An average Nigerian, an average African holds on to their life. Okay, so but there are different ways of transferring assets. You could have a will, for example. We'll talk about that. We could have a will. You could set up a trust. I am an advocate of having a trust because of the very many issues that are associated with having a will. So you could set up a trust. I also do not want to be in denial that we are in Africa. So there are laws and customs, and it works for some. I mean, I know that in the eastern part of the country, and there's this thing about the oldest son, the oldest surviving son, takes over the house of the deceased patriarch of the family. So I believe that even if you want to come up with a conventional way of transferring asset, that asset, as far as the law and custom of that area is concerned, the asset still goes to the oldest.
So which takes precedence, the constitution or the custom and tradition?
Whatever the deceased person held onto in their lifetime.
Okay. Hello, good evening to you.
Hello, good evening, Captain Smart.
Thank you so much for calling. Yeah, welcome, sir.
Yeah, this is Louis the 13th.
Welcome, Louis.
Kindly differentiate, because I heard you were trying to define your trust, and so I'm just trying to ask, kindly differentiate. Is there a clear cut between trust itself as an investment and portfolio bond? Portfolio bond collectively from this what you've just said in relating it to investment. Thank you.
Okay, trust and
portfolio
bonds.
Yes.
Yeah.
Those are, as in, I don't even see. They're two different things.
Okay.
However, so a portfolio is you have still. Let me use a suitcase. Yeah, so you have a suitcase that holds various investment types, different investment classes, right? So you would typically have a fund manager or an asset manager do that for you. They invest in different assets based on your preference, your risk appetite and all. It is also not impossible, however, for your portfolio to be vested in a trustee, like for you to ring fence your portfolio investment in a trust. Recall that I had said that a trust asset can be anything that is transferable. So as far as your portfolio is concerned, it can be regarded as an asset that can be transferred to a trustee. I mean, it's one of the things, if we're looking at a will, for example, it's one of the assets that will be inherited or that will be specified in a will. So.
Okay, the number to call to be part of the program, 0700-923-923-923. You can call and ask Omolola your questions around what we're discussing here this evening. We've been talking about trustees and consumers of financial services in Nigeria. That one of next of kin and beneficiary. I'm sure some of you have been confusing that one. So if you have questions around that, you can call and ask on 0700-923-923-923. So Omolola, you actually talked about will and people, being afraid to talk about wills and bequeathing assets to the next generation, which makes it somewhat difficult a topic to talk about. But how does one make a will? And is it true that by the time you start talking about making a will, you're just closer to your grave?
It is only God that knows who's close to.
Because some people say if you start talking about will now, you will soon die. People talk about that a lot.
It is not that one will soon die. But I mean, realistically, proof of life also means that death is going to happen at some point. So writing a will today does not mean I'm dying tomorrow. And again, to be very honest, you talk about wills, you think death. Will by itself is testamentary in nature, so it means it comes to effect after demise. So it's okay for people to think, but making a will is pretty simple. You itemize your assets. What do you own? Who are your beneficiaries? Who are the trusted people you would like to appoint as?
Okay, let's just talk to this call. You have to turn down the volume on your radio set.
It's Louis the 13th again.
Okay.
Please. Yeah. Hearing what Captain Smart just said about the will, I also want you to draw a clear cut between the will and last testament, please.
Will and last testament.
They're one and the same?
Yes.
You said they are one and the same. So that's the answer you get there. 0700-923-923-923. Are you trying to write a will, or are you staying away from writing a will? What's your belief around writing wills and transferring assets? Omolola is here to take those questions on 0700-923-923-923. So go ahead, please.
All right. So itemize your assets. Itemize who the beneficiaries would be. Who are the trusted people you'd like to appoint as executors? Put all of these things in a document. Sign in the presence of the witness. It is extremely important that the person is judged of sound mind at the time of making a will. But my advice would be, these things would appear like a DIY kind of thing. You can do it yourself. My advice would always be, get a professional. Work with a professional. And again, I had said earlier, I'm not an advocate of wills. I don't even like talking about wills.
So one can do their will by themselves?
Oh, of course.
Without a lawyer?
It's not impossible. But looking at the very many controversies we've had around wills, even the ones that were done with lawyers are contested. How much more if you just write on a piece of paper, true intentions and all, and then you hide in a safe place, and then it's discovered. In English law, right, it would appear that, it's fine, it passes as a will. But the practicality of it is doubted.
So people can contest a will?
Oh,
by that time, the deceased person is no longer there. So who would you ask? Who would you confess? How would you know who is going to be talking for the deceased?
So we've had cases of one will surfacing here, and I don't want to name names.
Yeah.
We have a lot of celebrated cases. So another will coming up like, oh no, this one was before this one. This one is a valid one. No, this one is was forged. Different issues, and so I don't like going there.
Okay, and then what if someone doesn't make a will? How can that person's dependent claim the deceased assets? No will. What happens if the person now passes?
So I'm going to assume you mean no will and no other form of transfer, because having a will isn't the only way you transfer assets. So I'm going to assume you're saying no will, no trust, no nothing. So it's possible for a person to die intestate and is dying without a will, right? The principal members of a family, there's, for example, in Lagos state laws, there's a hierarchy: the spouse, the children, parents, like that. So principal members of the family would apply for letters of administration. The letters of administration is going to be pretty the same thing like the will, naming, identifying the assets and all. So this will be shared with appropriate, shared to appropriate quarters, like banks where the assets are. So, and
in places where the customs and the traditions will forbid certain persons from inheriting assets, like you mentioned in parts of the East where a woman,
they are not forbidden. They are not forbidding the inheritance. They are just saying that there is a laid down custom. I'm not Igbo. I just happen to know that those things happen, right? So it is that there are laid down guidelines for transfer of assets in this particular space, right? And for people who hold customs and traditions very dearly, they would always uphold that over any conventional means of transfer.
So it will supersede the constitution?
If the deceased person was known to be a core traditionalist, it would supersede. Because, I mean, if a will surfaces, for example, for such a deceased person, and the contents of the will contradict the laid down customs, rules of the tradition, they would contest it. Because I'm alive and I'm practicing this, and then you're telling me that I wrote this. Of course, there would be, oh no, this is not correct. So,
okay, there's the message here. Remember, you can call. We still have a few minutes here to accommodate your calls on 0700-923-923-923. I know it's a scary discussion we're having this evening, especially with this wheel something coming in. It looks very scary. Don't worry, you're not dying. Just call and ask questions, right? This person says, hi, my name is Ayo from Fadi, and Ayo says, how long does the trust agreement go for, and what are the fees for it?
Okay, so the trust agreement can be tenured. You just decide. If you want it for 5 years for a particular objective, once the objective is achieved, it expires. The fees, you would have to discuss on the particular trust advisor to agree on what fees. But I know that fees are usually negotiated on a quantum of work and assets involved. Yeah.
And that's it. So 0700-923-923-923. That's our number. You can call us here, or you can go to our website and get more information. Actually, hello, good evening to you. Oh, you have to call back on 0700-923-923-923. It's Money Talks, a financial literacy program brought to you by CFA Society Nigeria. And Omolola is my guest on the program this evening, and we've been discussing trustees and consumers of financial services in Nigeria, and she's been taking questions and giving us some advice on how you can go about all of these things that we're talking about here. Letters of administration, you mentioned that in the course of the program. It's not easy to get a letter of administration in Nigeria. Many times people die and their spouses get to find out, especially when it is the man that has passed. Their spouses get to find out that, oh, my husband has X amount of money in X bank, and they say, madam, we know, we sympathize with you. Your husband was a good man, but they won't just let them have access to this money because the man did not make that wife a part of that asset that he owned in that particular place. Upon verifying that this person has been married to this person for a long time, why does it still take so long, and why does it appear so difficult?
There's no straightforward answer. I think it's just a bureaucracy. I was at a program. I don't recall her name now. I'm sorry. The Administrator General. I don't know. There's a parastatal that handles that, and she did say that for Lagos State now, they've tried to clear a lot of backlogs. But I would imagine that it's a lot of bureaucracies. And that is why there's this gospel. I know we don't want to talk about death, but it's extremely important that people learn to put their affairs in order. Like, just put your house in order. I don't work with the government. Nobody really knows what the issues are. But I mean, the bureaucracy is everywhere. It's not just peculiar to Lagos. So I like that Lagos State has said that they are doing a lot to clear the backlogs, but it is what it is. Let's just learn to put our affairs in order.
Wow, I've said it that this is a very scary one, but then we have to talk about these things. We really, because these things happen. Well, that's all we're going to have time for on the program this evening. Trustees and consumers of financial services in Nigeria is what we've been talking about here this evening. And Omolola, you have to help me with this yourself.
Iyinolakan.
Iyinolakan.
Don't worry, you're not alone.
Okay, Iyinolakan. All right, I learned that one today. ACIS, the president of the Association of Corporate Trustees, is our guest, has been our guest on the program this evening. Omolola, thank you very much for your time on the program. We really do appreciate it. Thank you so much. And that's our time. Join us again next Monday at 4:30 p.m. for a fresh package. Captain Smart is my name.